back. We're good.
Okay, it is April 1st. You're not going to get any practical jokes from Wheeler and Dealer on this show. Although I guess Wheeler had a prank video out.
Ooh. Probably unpopular, but yeah, I have a prank video out. I don't know, I'm sure I'll get some dislikes out there. It's unusual.
Maybe I wasn't supposed to call it a prank video.
Oh, well, they won't see this on April 1st. Because, you know, after April 1st, I changed it to April Fool's Day video in the title. That's what I did last year. But for April 1st, the joke has to keep going. So that's why we upload early.
So this show, though, is questions, answers, and topics on picking, eBay, buying, and selling on the Crazy Picker Life with Wheeler, Dealer, and Banana Peeler. Welcome, fellow pickers and would-be adventurers. Dealer here, and Wheeler with the Crazy Picker Life. Question, answer, comment, discussion, edition. April 1st, March is over. The first quarter of sales are over. We just got back from a picking adventure trip. The 4 boys were out. If I call myself a boy, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a boy as opposed to the other. So this is going to be a question and answer show. I've asked everybody that wanted a topic or a question or a topic question answer thing to submit questions over the last week. A lot of good comments and questions do come in. I can't really address all of them on a show like this, and that's why when we get close to one of these, I'll put out sort of a yellow alert and say, hey, put your questions in. So what's going on, Wheeler? How are you doing?
Not much. Got a jet-lagged Saturday, I guess.
How are you doing? Not much.
Yeah, not much. I'm not doing much. I'm not. No.
How's your listening?
My listing is going great. 11 items listed. So.
Yeah, listening.
I know. I heard that. That's a joke.
That is so funny.
April Fool's Day.
Oh. Well, you know, when the kids were younger. We used to play up April Fool's Day a little bit, and I used to get you guys on a couple of things, and I don't know, I must have did it one year, like when you were 4 or 5 and Kate was 3 or 4 or something, and then what happened is I sort of laid off it because I saw the consequences, because you guys thought it was so great that the next year you just wanted to play jokes the whole day, and I was like, oh no. When did I start? And then you guys started it with the other younger kids, of course, and now it's like full circle.
Well, I've made at least 1 year of April Fool's Day videos. I don't think I made it the year before that, so I had to keep it up. I wasn't going to do it. I was like, why? But I was like, I have extra time, and I just hit my incentive. Why not? It doesn't take me too long. It's kind of fun.
So these programs can go long. Today is not the case. We're not going to do a 3-hour video. I've got my eye on the clock. I've been told in comments, you know, every comment that comes in, I kind of figure there must be 2 or 5 or 10 people that are thinking sort of the same thing. And so I do take those. Now, the ones that come in that are kind of really offbeat, I hope 10 people aren't thinking that. But one of the comments that came in off our 3-hour show or one of our shows like that, was it took us a long time to get started.
Oh, well, it did. That's the whole thing, yeah.
And here's the reason, without going for 15 minutes before the show starts.
That'd be ironic. Why we go so long for 15
I mean, I don't do a lot of editing, but it takes me a little while to warm up my talking and my thinking. Yeah. And if I have some dialogue with Wheeler and we talk about some things, I get kind of warmed up, and then I think the program goes better.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's my explanation for that. We're not going to do a lot of that today. I'm going to get right into it. I did do, for those of you that tuned in for the March numbers, our March numbers, we talk about how much we sales across our channels. We put monthly numbers out. Some of it motivates us. Some of it motivates some of you out there possibly. We try to aim at $20,000 in sales, gross sales per month. I do have my rough numbers, and we did not hit 20,000. I'll just throw them out there. And then there's a question in there somewhere on it. I won't rehash them, but I'll just put those numbers out. Our average for the last 3 or 4 years, if you take a year at a time, is right around 20,000, and every year we've grown some.
Yep.
But that's really about the average, give or take, right?
Also, January, February are pretty good months, and I'm curious how March previous years compares to this year.
Well, every year is a little different for us because it really depends on when we do our big listing push. It really depends on the stuff we have. We just happen to have some really good stuff in the fall this year, and we got it listed, and then January and February were pretty strong.
Yeah.
We've been strong for a while, and every month that we have below 20,000, we do tend to have another month that's above it. And so I think our best month ever is 28,000 in sales, and of course we've had some months below all channels, maybe below 13,000 or something. Not recently,
Yeah.
but within the last couple of years we've had a few really low months too. So our month this March, 18,890. I think we went, did we go on any vacations in March? I can't recall.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we were around most of the time. Part of it is our listing for March
Yeah.
was not super strong. And if you've got a back stock of inventory that's listed, for a while, even if you don't list anything, you can count on a pretty good sell cycle.
Yeah.
But if you're not listing strong and consistent, you won't get those quick sale items going all the time, all those good items going all the time. And I also think if you are listing on any given channel, I think you get a slight bump in search results because they meaning the algorithm at eBay, I believe rewards people who are constantly listing.
Yep.
And so we didn't have as strong of a listing March as I would have liked. It wasn't bad. We still listed just about $20,000 in stuff.
Yep.
Now that stuff that we listed for just about $20,000 won't sell for $20,000 by the time we go through our price reduction strategy and put things on sale. That $20,000 will actually probably sell for $15,000.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why that's not a good listing month for us. We need to list 1,000 a day or more when we're in the office, which would put us at $20,000 to $30,000 a month. We need to list that every month in order to hit the 20,000 in sales.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
So a quick breakdown: 18,890, almost 19,000 in sales. Cameras, 12,200. Northwest Kansas, which is our general vintage merchandise, 3,897. Northwest Kansas watches, which is watches and some test strips, 1,797. I did sell a beer sign for $270. I sold some estate merchandise. I got a little bit of that selling yet on one channel. It's really a personal channel, but $130. And then Amazon was $567. Total of $18,890, give or take.
Yeah.
And those are rough numbers.
Sure, I still sell Wheeler's Deals. I need you to pack up here sometime, but forgot about that.
Well,
I sold it today. So
I need a, well, you'll be fine. I need a reminder.
Yep, forgot about
okay, so next month, which is now April 1st, is a new month. As far as sales, I don't know what we expect. I would like to hit 20,000. We're gonna have to gear it up in order to do that. We don't have the greatest stuff in our back stock, although we just bought some reasonably good stuff, which I think we'll fill in. It's only going to be a couple weeks worth of listing to get that stuff knocked out. So, I don't expect to have a killer month. I expect to have a good solid month. I think we're going to have a good listing month. We need to put some incentives in there.
Yeah.
Need to have an
go-kart incentive was pretty fun.
The go-karts were pretty fun. Anything else before we get started? Okay, I've got a lot of questions. Some of these are really what I would call heavy questions, deep questions. I could go a lot of different directions. I'm going to keep this pretty general. I'm going to keep it fairly light. We've got one question that came in that was sort of like somebody trying to stab us a little bit, and I'm going to keep that really light. So if you're looking for the intense question and answer show, I don't think this is going to be it, but I am going to try to give some good answers to these questions. Wheeler, you know, you can put in your 2 cents anytime you want.
Yep.
I'll probably default to you on certain things because there are a few camera related questions as well as business questions you can chime in.
Yep, figure out the song thing you were talking about yesterday, that comment you got.
Which, oh yeah.
Yeah, it was because I was singing the Happy Days thing with Coffee Days or something. I made like a little parody thing there. I couldn't find it, but it was somewhere in there. I remember that.
In my video?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh man.
Monday, Tuesday, Coffee Days. Tuesday. I don't know, I had something like that.
Yeah.
Sort of sang a little ditty, and I guess they're picking up on that.
Well, okay, so this is interesting. I make a video every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
You make videos every day now
Yep.
too. So my videos probably average 20 minutes.
Yep.
If you took it across the board, maybe my average is 20 minutes, maybe it's a little more. I edit those videos, and when I edit them, I do rewatch some of the segments, not all of them, because some of them are sort of like, hey, I packed this, hey, I listed this, and I know what I'm recording, so I just look at the front and the end of that segment.
Yep.
But for the most part, a day or two after, when questions come in, I've already forgotten what I said. And so if the question is just like a little blip, I don't even know what the heck people are talking about.
Well, I mean, I scrolled through on my phone, I couldn't even find it. So yeah, it's a little blip somewhere in there.
So if you really want to, you know, hit me with something that's going to be
link.
well, you can put a time link in there if you want me to go look back or whatever. It's not really necessary.
No.
It's just it's kind of funny to me that when I read some of the questions, the shorter ones, they'll say something and I'm trying to decipher what the heck they're.
What's the reference to?
Well, right,
Yeah.
right, and some
Find
of
the
them,
reference.
some of them are like, "Hey, that sounds great,"
Yeah.
and I want to know, and some of them are like, "What? Did I say that? What the heck is going on there?"
Yeah.
So it's a funny way to interact.
Yep.
Okay, so first question, and this is actually a pretty serious one. And I'm going to try to give a little insight on that, like I said, without going too deep. You know, a good video would be you speaking about you and your wife, meaning me and Lon. It's very hard for a family to stay together nowadays, especially when there's a self-employed business in the family. I'm in my early 30s, have 2 kids, self-employed. My significant other and I recently split up about 7 months ago. I have the kids. A major reason was I felt she was holding me back and didn't provide enough help. Okay, so yeah, we got a problem with families staying together, no doubt. In this country, for sure. Other countries, it's really only what I read about or know about. But family is under attack from the inside, from the outside. Families staying together, eating supper together, doing things together. Laughing together, crying together, getting along. Obviously, it is tough. Divorce rate is high, remarry rate, problems. You know, you can point all different reasons why, okay? I don't want to get into all that. But here's some insight. You got anything?
I've heard of some same stuff too, so I guess.
Yeah, so here's some insight. It is challenging being married to another person. There is no doubt. There's no doubt that there is joy in marriage. I think, I don't think, my belief is there's 2 ways to go. Not married and serve God, and married, man and wife. Those are the 2 ways to go. That's my belief system. I'm not saying anything about others. That's just, I believe those are the 2 choices. And so if you are married, there are many joys and there are many challenges. There's no doubt. Let's just leave it at that. But here's what I do know that's relevant to picking, okay? Relevant to picking. No matter how your marriage is going, running your own business will make or break it. Because running your own business, especially if it's, say, you and not both you and your spouse, that would provide a whole new dynamic. But if it's just you, running your business is going to be different than being in a job. It's going to add more stress. So if your marriage is stressed, it's going to make it more stressful. If it's not stressed and it's a good thing, it's going to make it better. So I think it's one of those things that amplifies to the worst, like make it more chaotic, more stressful. If money's an issue with your business, which if you're in your own business, obviously there is ups and downs. There are good months and there are low months. When you're in a job for 20 years in a row, you get a pretty steady paycheck. Now, in our job market, obviously people change jobs, lose jobs, gain jobs. That's a whole stressful thing. But being in your own business is not necessarily linear money, and money is one of the things that can really stress a relationship. Now, you can jump in. I know you're not married.
Yep.
But you do see your mom and dad fight about certain things, discuss certain things, argue certain things. The business is one of them. Money is one of them. A big thing in my relationship with Lon is it took a long time for her to see what running a business was, and as it got more successful, that was better. But if I'm putting in long hours, obviously that takes away from some of my responsibilities with the family, and so that can be stressful.
Yep.
Now, I think one of the areas that has really helped my relationship with Lon and this business is doing these YouTube videos, which she watches. She now, from watching 6 months of videos, knows what the heck I do. Not just from me talking, she can actually see the videos, and for whatever odd reason that has helped that situation. In fact, I think, although she is not working with me full time yet, I think it has helped her make the decision to attempt the idea of working together and working in the same business, which if I would have asked her 3 or 4 years ago, she would have been like, no, thank you. And, you know, my personal relationship with my wife, we are opposite in a lot of different ways, which is good. And on the other side of that, the opposite thing, you can clash quite a bit. We have different styles of how we do things, and when we are working together in this business, I think we have a good chance of doing really well, and I think we're going to have some challenges that we're going to have to work through, and that's just how it is.
Yep.
So I don't want to go long and long about this thing, but I do know that a business mindset is different than somebody that is not in a business and does not have a self-employed mindset. One of the biggest things is the until attitude. When you are working a job, you go home at a certain hour. In most jobs, not all jobs, but most jobs. And a lot of people's job mindset is when 5 o'clock comes, that's it. And 5 o'clock can mean 6 o'clock, and it can mean whatever. In your own business, there are some things that you have to get done in certain weeks of the year, and you may have to put more time, energy, and hours in, and you just can't help it. And if you don't have somebody that can understand that, that can be a very stressful time. Now, on the other side, I can pick up and take a week off if I want. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to ask my boss. And so, you know, you can have as many pros and cons, and in a lot of ways, the communication with Lon and myself is I've tried to talk about some of those things that are pros to offset some of the things that would be negatives. And I have to relate them with her to her current job situation that she's been in of 10 years. And I don't want to get all into that, but we've had discussions about that, and they haven't always went smoothly, but you know, being open about all that, and these videos, and just sort of designing a lifestyle and all that, I think has really helped. So Lon does not want to do a question and answer show like this, and I don't blame her. She's just not into it. And so when we start working together, who knows, we might do something like that down the road. We might get her more involved in the videos if she wants to. Not everybody wants to do videos.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to spill it out there.
Project themselves upon the world.
Yeah, and I mean, there's parts of it that I don't like either. So, you're only getting one side of my relationship here, and I'm not willing to give everything out. Lana and I have a great relationship. We also have challenges just like every other marriage and relationship. We're going to have 20 years of marriage coming up in a year or two here, which is pretty good. Obviously, we have a lot going on with 6 kids, homeschool, business, traveling, all that stuff. So yeah, we've made it through it, and I don't know. Faith in God is big. I mean, that is big in our marriage, and I know not everybody has the same belief system as I do, or we do, or my family does, but that's a big one for us as well. And so I put that right at the top. The self-employed thing, just to wrap it up, especially during the struggle years of your business, or if you're going to be transitioning from full-time employment to full-time buying and selling, or to any business full-time from another income source, or whatever that transition is, that is and can be very, very tough on a relationship. And it takes both partners to get through that. If one decides to tune out for whatever reason, it'd be very hard. It's nearly impossible. It can really affect that, and I can feel that in this message here, and I feel for you, because there were certainly some times in my own relationship and my family relationship when we transitioned, and I've been an entrepreneur on and off sort of all my life. There's been periods that have been very tough, and the business transitions have really amplified that. So I don't think that answers that question.
Well,
it's a lot. I mean, I am not an expert in marriage. I am not an expert in relationships. I do what I do. Mm-hmm. I take it as it is. I do know you got to water the flowers every day. You don't water the flowers for a while, they die. Okay. I hope that helped. Just my relationship to the question. I don't think I can help your situation other than you're just going to have to look one day at a time forward and keep going. I can't help you there. The kids are important. Just know that. Senioritis is contagious.
All our kids are going to get senioritis and whatever grade they're in. It's great.
Well, the reason I put this down, and here I am drinking a beer. This is great.
Dead zone.
Lead by example is important. And I am not a role model for everybody. I don't call myself hardcore or anything like that, but I certainly have my ways that I do things, and I've tried to present some very important things to my kids and my family so that they can follow along, lead by example. And so I have talked to Wheeler about business, school, and all the responsibility that he has as the oldest child of 6 of my kids. And I know you've seen some of the things that you've done that maybe haven't been so great, and some of the things that you've done that have been good, and how they have effects on the other kids.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it is part of my struggle with Wheeler having senioritis in his senior last half year of school.
Oh, last quarter already. I just forgot all that.
If he doesn't do his schoolwork, that does make me a little grumpy.
Yep.
And it is contagious because the other kids, I mean, the whole thing with 6 kids is everybody wants to get their piece of the dessert pie. Everybody wants to have the same treatment. Somebody gets a gift, they all want gifts,
Yep.
So,
off here.
So we were talking about your school.
Yep. I started goofing off in like 6th grade, so the other kids would get started earlier because they saw that, that's how it works.
Yeah, we don't need people to start goofing off in 6th grade.
Well, I don't know, 7th. I don't. Yeah, 6th was pretty good actually. I think it's 7th, but whatever.
Well, we homeschool, and that's as challenging as a relationship in a sense. Wearing all the different hats: teacher, father, business owner, friend, sports comrade. I mean, it's tough. Dealer, what up? A few episodes ago, you told me to leave a question or two in the comments. Here we go. By the way, your show is the balls.
Good or bad?
I think it's good.
It seems good. I don't know. Yeah.
Question 1. Now, I read these when they came in. I'm going into these reasonably cold. I don't have any notes here. I just have the questions. You mentioned in your last Q&A that to go full-time, you suggest having $50K on hand to survive and build. You also mentioned that you started out with $100,000 in debt. Not recommended, you said. Yeah. I've decided to go full-time about 5 months ago. I've done fairly well. I'm working really hard. I don't have a lot of capital as my current profit, about $2,000 netted a month, are paying my bills. There's not much to put back in the business. Encourage me on how I can make it. I believe I can. I have excellent credit to borrow whatever I may need. Thanks so much. Sorry for the long question. I'm 32 years old, long history in sales. Consider myself sociable and able to talk to whoever I buy inventory from. Okay, so a couple of things here. I did a show a while back. I talked about my journey to having a business that cranks out good sales every month, some of my pitfalls, how really I came out of one business situation that was really good and fell really hard, and after dragging my tail for a couple years and not making good money, I was pretty heavily in debt, and somehow I built this business. I mentioned that if I was to do it all over again, I would like to have, let's say, $50,000 available for inventory and expenses and living, which would give you, in my estimate, a good year or so to really get it going.
Yeah.
It depends on your pace, how fast you want to do it. It depends on your confidence level. It depends on your tolerance for risk. All those things on how fast you can build this business.
Yep.
Whether you're doing it with a bunch of money or on a shoestring. I think both have merit. But it's not like you can drop into the eBay business with $100,000 of your own money and guarantee success either. Yeah. Because this business is built on one transaction at a time, buying one item low and selling it high, and then taking that to your next item. Back and forth. We sell 500 items a month.
Yep.
We got to make money on most of those, or we don't live another month. So it's not just about how much money you bring into it. It's also about some other things. And this, this viewer mentions confidence, and they already have the business going. They're netting a couple $1,000s a month, which to me shows that they get it.
Yep.
Obviously, they're making a profit. They're selling items. If you have a background in sales really, there's some other careers, but sales teaches you a little bit about yourself and how to meet goals. And it's a little bit like running your own business, although running your own business is more than just sales. What do you think, Wheeler?
Well, I don't know. I guess I didn't say, like, one thing that was on the top of my head where he said that, because I didn't necessarily say you couldn't find not enough items, but one thing I would say is work smarter, not harder in some cases, which that can be a pretty general term, whatever. Like, learn new niches, broaden your horizons on certain things. If you're only dealing one product, I don't know.
Okay, well, that's a good point. I wasn't going to go that direction, but if you're just buying and selling one thing, that was one of the pitfalls that I hit a couple of times. Niches, when you find one, I think you should run with it, because they can be really good, and sometimes they can dry up, and sometimes you run into a pallet of something, and then you find out how to find a couple more pallets of it, and you got to run with it. But you don't want to, I think what you're saying is you don't want to just stick in that niche.
Yeah,
because,
and there's a whole other extreme to that, obviously. Like if you broaden your horizons too much, you start to pick up everything, and a master of nothing and a,
it's
master of everything and a whatever. Not,
it can be a balance.
Yeah, something.
So
master of none.
Here's really how I read your question, and I know what answer you want. From what you've showed me here, you're ready to build this thing bigger. If I recall, you said you had a big monthly goal of sales, one that maybe even made me take note. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty good sales goal. And again, it's not all about sales. If you're selling $20,000 or $30,000 of product on eBay a month, that's great. But I could sell $500,000 worth of product on eBay a month.
Make the same amount.
And make the same amount as selling the 20 that I do. So you also have to look at profit margin, because I can go buy 5 cars and sell them for the same price I bought them for, take the fees out, and lose money.
Yep.
I can sell $250,000 a month.
Or you go buy 5 cars and make $500 on each $15,000 car. So.
Well, right, and so that profit margin's not worth the hassle.
No, not at all.
So it's not, there's profit margin in there. But here's what I think you're asking me. Are you asking me if you should borrow money and go for this thing? And the question is not really answered by me. I'm not going to say go for it. I'm not going to, tell you that you should or have to. But you got to ask yourself if you're ready. And the risk is, if things go really bad, if you get sick, if eBay kills your accounts, if the online world changes so much, like right now, maybe some of you are aware that the online world of censorship is changing, and there's a whole bunch of YouTubers out there that are losing their full-time income. Fake news, all that garbage. The way it's happening. I'm not going to get into it, but things with eBay could change. Now you can go to Amazon, you can go to whatever other platform you want, you can sell at the flea market, but the bottom line is, if things go bad, you need to be the one that's going to take the hit.
Yep.
Now if you're buying well, and you're not buying like eggs that have an expiration date, a lot of things that you buy well will weather the storm. If eBay's knocked off for 6 months until something else comes along, it's not like you're going to lose everything, because you still got this good stuff. You may have just lost your platform to get it out there. And that'd be an extreme thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I know right now, if eBay went down on us, we would slump for a while, but we're not dead in the water. We still have good inventory. We just need to figure out how to get it to the people.
Yep.
And there would be ways to do that.
Yeah.
So, risk is it. You have to examine your risk tolerance. The other thing I would do is I would experiment and schedule yourself. How hard can you work when you need to work it? Now, if you're 32 and in good health, and you've got a good relationship with your family, and you explain to them, hey, I'm going to go for this, well, that's a big plus. And if they back you, if you only have a little time to devote to it, or you're in poor health, or you get tired easily, or you're just not suited to the entrepreneur lifestyle, some parts of it, then you've got to examine some of those limitations. When you borrow money, okay, because this is my own experience talking, I borrowed money knowing that I could get a return of investment, bar some big odd thing happening. If I put $5,000 a month in inventory, I'm going to turn that into $10,000 or $15,000 eventually. That was my confidence level.
Yep.
I knew I was going to be able to double or triple my money. We always aimed at triple. That's pretty much What we've done over the years is triple our money. So if you're confident that you can do that kind of thing, that's a big plus. Then then you're starting to build a plan. The other thing I would do while I'm thinking about it is just jot a one-page plan down of some kind. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm willing to give for time. Here's what I'm willing to give for energy. These are the things I'm looking for. This is sort of my schedule. This is where I'm going to go. I mean, just put it down so every day you can look at that for a few minutes and get yourself back on track. Because some days are going to get kind of crazy and hectic. Check your logistics. Do you have your shipping where you can handle that kind of stuff? Do you have a place to store the inventory? Do you have a vehicle that's going to get you places? Do you have all those things in place? If you've already got most of these systems running at one speed, which it looks like you do, I think you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Yeah. Cutting off the way. Once you have the ball rolling, you can only go faster if you put the time and whatever into it. I don't know. Because you can hit friction along the way, but if it's rolling, that's the first step.
Well, here's the deal. I'm going to give you two more things, and I'm going to let you follow up with some other questions, other question and answer things. I've given you a couple of things to think about. I believe we as a business probably average somewhere around $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month spent on inventory. Something like that.
Yep.
When I put $5,000 out, I don't get that double or triple back in the next month.
Mm-hmm.
Our strategy is different than yours could be. You may list all auctions and you may turn your money over right away. Your stuff may be long sale. I don't have an exact, our average item takes this long to sell, but I'd be willing to bet that within a couple of months, our average item probably takes 4 months to sell.
Yep.
If you take all of them across the board.
Yep.
Like, for example, tonight I just got paid on one of those Hot Point blue, super large porcelain Hot Point appliances signs.
Yeah.
We got those a few months ago. We got them in the fall, and here we are. Was that in the fall?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was.
It's been about 4 months, and it sold for $325 plus $173 shipping. That pays for that whole lot of signs that came out of the semi-truck.
Yep.
I've still got another Hot Point sign. I've got a couple Pepsi signs. I've got that gasoline sign that came out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So I paid for that whole lot, but it was the first sale out of that lot. And I didn't get it listed right away, but that doesn't really matter because I spent the money.
Yep.
So, you've got to do a little bit of a cash flow analysis when you grow your business. If you're going to really go for it, you're putting out $5,000 a month. How long is it going to take you to start recouping a bunch of that? Now, for me and my growth of my business, I was always able to kind of cash flow and roll things. But if you've got loans out there, you got to realize there's probably a percentage that you got to pay for that. There's the payments on that. It does get a little bit hectic. But you just have to know that going in, that you're not going to get your money out right away, typically. At least we didn't. I didn't. If you are working a certain number of hours right now, netting $2,000, and you want that to become, let's just say $5,000, you're going to have to do some things differently if you're using all your time.
Yep.
Because you can't work 2.5 times as long forever. So if you're putting in 30 hours a week right now even to net 2,000, what are you going to do a little bit differently to net 5,000? Are you going to work 75 hours a week? Well, you can do that for a while, right?
Yep.
And you'll get better. So you might do that and work 75 hours and you might be able to pare it back to say 50. But you've got to have some mindset on that because you can only go great guns, balls to the walls for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done it.
Yeah.
We've done certain months where we just went nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, it's like, woo! But then you're tired.
Yeah.
And you got to recover in the rest of your life. So time and money. It always comes down to time and money. If you're confident, that's good. If you're already in the flow of items, that's good. If you got all the basics down in the business, that's good. You just need to make a plan that takes a realistic look at your cash flow, your time. Are you able to, list that many things?
Yep.
And then if you're going to do it, do it.
Yep. One thing that I had that is very similar in that same vein is, like, if you're going to borrow money to buy more inventory, how is your situation right now? Like, you have this $2,000 net of inventory. Could you buy more? And is that holding you back? Is the money aspect of it holding you back from buying more, or is it just?
Well, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Is the $2,000 he's netting is all being rolled back into his life.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep.
So he doesn't have any money to invest. He wants to gear it up. He's asking, should I borrow money?
So here's more thing. Do you have more time than money, or more money than time?
Well, that's a good point.
Yep.
Now, if I was in the same situation, and it's a heck of a lot easier for me to look back because I made it. Mm-hmm. If I was in the same situation 10 years ago as I was today, would I do it the same? Would I borrow the money? Would I go for it? Heck yeah, I would. But that incorporates a lot of things about me. If I lost everything today, all of it, and still had the ability to start over and borrow money today, would I do it? Yeah. But I'd have to look at it a little bit differently because I'm getting to be an old geezer. And although I still think I've got a few spins around the merry-go-round left in me, I don't have the same wind today that I did 10 years ago. So I hope that helps. Now you can follow up with some other questions on that. But if you're confident, I mean, I think this business, if you know where to buy and how to buy good stuff and can follow through and do all parts of the business, investing borrowed money in inventory is pretty safe bet.
Yep.
But I don't encourage people to do that unless you've got all these things mapped out and feel confident about it, because it's certainly not a lottery ticket. It's certainly not something you should just lunge at. You need to have people in your family on board. You need to know the consequences, have a plan, even if it's a one-pager, and then get it done.
Yep.
Anything else to add, Wheeler?
Well, let's see if I can collect my thoughts for a second. I had one other thing.
Well, you think for a minute,
yeah,
and I'll probably confuse you by going on to this next one. We got to keep this moving. So just sit and think, unless you want to turn it off and think for a second.
No, I'm good.
Number 2 question from this same gentleman. Can you provide the methods you use for keeping detailed books and records, QuickBooks, Excel, spreadsheets, net profits? What can make our lives easier and save time? Well, I mean, there's only so many records you need to keep. And I'm not an accountant, CPA. Bookkeeping's a little bit different. I'm not going to talk about taxes, but really, it boils down to this. You're buying things and you're selling things. You need to keep all that information. And I know your question assumes that. I've used spreadsheets, and I still do, to track things like profit and track different promotions and track growth and all those things. When I started out, I would actually even track individual items and see what was selling well and see what the actual bottom line was. I don't do that much anymore.
Yep.
We do use QuickBooks. I like QuickBooks. In the last year, I have transferred most of my bookkeeping over to Lon, my wife. I have a couple of reports that I generate out of my stuff and give her. And then I do the final taxes with TurboTax. And we have been getting some consulting from a CPA firm on certain items. And we're going to continue to do that because we have some changes coming up with traveling and employees. And it can get more complex as you add, say, employees and add different aspects to your business. But in the beginning, couple things you want to do. You want to know the health of your business. That's important. Am I making money? Am I not making money? If you're the business owner and you're doing it all, you're going to have a certain feeling if you're making money or not. But at some point, and I would recommend doing this early, I would spend that half hour a day recording some things to find out how much money you're making and how much you're losing. You need to be able to make good decisions before you say rent a place or before you drive 400 miles to go picking. You need to know if that's making sense. I mean, a lot of these things you can go by feel, but I mean, you do need to record the numbers and then make some sense. So to answer your question, we use QuickBooks. I do use spreadsheets quite a bit to try to generate some best guesses, some profit margin information, some health of the business, some projections, some historical graphing to see if we're growing or going, all that kind of stuff. And I do a lot less of it, in a sense, on a micro scale now, but I do more on a macro scale, if that makes any sense. I know that the little gears are working. I look more at the bigger numbers now.
Yeah.
Did that come to you, whatever?
Oh yeah, what I had basically was what are the advantages, and there's pros and cons to having more capital or less capital. And the way I was thinking it was different types of lots. Like you can buy a single item for a certain price. If you bundle items together, let's say 10, 15 items, you can obviously get a better price depending on who you're buying for, depends on the market. And then you can buy big lots of stuff and you can like really get your price down there, your initial cost down there, and then you get more items for your money. So I don't know, there's a thing there with capital.
Well, one last thing that's come to me now that you mentioned that, that came to me that's important too, and it goes along with having enough time to process what you're buying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went to Goodwill Outlet.
Yeah.
And we spent $160.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the average price per item of those $160 was probably lower than our general average price per item.
Yeah.
So we bought a lot of stuff for a little, but it's going to take us a little longer to process it on the listing end and the packing end. So, you know, is it worth it?
Yeah, and one thing that kind of applies to mine, that's a case where the thing doesn't really apply. A single item would have cost the same as in a big lot in that case. But then again, you have to think of your driving, your gas costs, your other stuff. So buying more items at that one place with more capital offsets your thing, which obviously 160 is not a lot of capital. I mean more.
Well, you can spread your risk over a number of items too.
Yep.
Because, well, yeah, I could have spent $160 on one item, and if I would have searched really hard, I maybe could have got, say, $500 or $600 for that item. Only had to list and pack one item.
Yeah.
But then if it got broken in the mail, then you're screwed.
Exactly.
So you put all your eggs in one basket. So
there's a lot of different concepts they're pretty logical, but there's a lot of different sides to each thing.
Well, as you grow your business, I mean, if you want to go to netting 2,000 to netting 5,000, there's going to be some mindset changes. There's going to be some logistical changes. There's going to be some money management changes. There's going to be a little change in what you buy and how you process. Those things you're just going to have to live.
Yep.
And you're going to have to realize that you will have to work smarter, not harder, because you cannot infinitely multiply your time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have always tried to raise our dollar sale per item.
Yep.
And I have kept statistics on that. And right now I think we're somewhere over $40 to $42, $43 per item average that we sell.
Yeah.
When we started, we were lower.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And personally, I would love to sell an average item of $100. We just haven't cracked that. Our camera market is not quite like that. There's so much good stuff for us in the $20 to $50 range.
Oh yeah, no-brainer stuff. That's the thing, because a lot of these really big camera places that you look online, the ones that are processing, I don't even know a number, but just let's say 5 times what we're processing. They'll have sometimes a store for their expensive stuff, and you're like, wow, they're selling all these $100 and up items. How did they do that? How don't they have all this other stuff? But then they have another channel that they don't really advertise that they sell all this cheap stuff on. So. Or they have somebody else they sell that to or something. They don't. So, they do get a lot of that kind of stuff, though. You always get that stuff along with others.
So whatever market you're in, you're going to have to discover how it works.
Yeah.
And if it's just general merchandise, that's fine. if you are in general merchandise, I would look to specialize in a couple of things.
That's really my stance.
Because you can get leverage with knowledge if you start to really understand things. If you're just being a generalist is great, and it's fun, and you never get bored, but you will make a little more money, I think, or a lot more money if you develop a solid niche.
Yeah, I'd say pretty realistically, 30% of your mindset goes to one thing, 30% goes to another, and then another 40% you can go to a generalist thing. That's kind of my stance on it, at least. That I like to have general knowledge, but also have a couple things that you really know. I don't know. Could make sense. Just like it's cameras and watches. I'm thinking about that.
All right, we'll move on here.
Yeah.
I think that's a good question, and please do follow up on any of our questions here for our next show. We do a question and answer show at least once a month.
Yep.
Great video. I have a question for you. What is the latest time you would ship out USPS when you ship next day? Thanks again. I sort of answered this question in a 1 or 2 line thing online, and I still don't know if I understand exactly what is meant by this question. Personally, I pack orders around my lifestyle, and I have some hours in my business that are set, and I have some that flex a little bit. I don't pack orders the same time every day, although like I've showed in many of my videos, I try to get a jump on the week early Monday morning, as early as 12:01 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m. I'll come down here. Sometimes if I'm really sucking wind, maybe 5 or 6 a.m. And if it's a postal holiday on Monday, I may not come in at all and do the orders Monday night.
Yeah.
But I always try to get a jump on the orders for the week. We always have a bunch. Like I'm sitting here looking at my tote. I've already got 6 or 7 done tonight, which I feel good about because I'm not going to go hardcore into Monday with Saturday orders not done, late Saturday orders not done. Where you're going to have to talk to your postmaster if this is part of the question. I know I've got to have my stuff down there by 3 p.m. on a given day for it to go out.
Yep.
They'll accept it later, but it won't necessarily get on the truck to go to our sorting center, which I believe is out of state, where we're at, and get on its way. And it's important to me to get stuff out reasonably quickly. I've gotten a little more flexible and lax on that in the last year or so without too much loss in sales or anything like that. But I think if you want to differentiate yourself, you should get your stuff out fast. So you do need to talk to your local USPS and try to find out their schedule. We work nights a lot, and so I might pack orders right up till midnight sometimes for the next day, and then they'll go out. Maybe the question is, what do you promise your people?
Yeah, maybe, because I was thinking, like, in general, what's the latest an order could come in and still go out the same day in general? It's just an average order.
I mean, I sometimes get an order at 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon, and
that's what I'm saying.
And I still get that order out the same day because I haven't left for 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'll just whoop it out. So sometimes it depends on when the order comes in. I think we have 1 day handling on most of our channels.
Same day, yeah. Same day before. I think our cutoff set is 12. It's noon Central Standard Time, I think.
Yeah.
Where we have it at. I'm not sure, but I think that's what it is.
We have really good feedback on our shipping time numbers on all channels, and it's partially because I'm on top of it.
Yep, with the fast and free thing, it's all streamlined.
I think there would be 2 types of people in the shipping department. One would be get stuff out very, very regularly, be aggressive on it. That's how I am.
Yeah.
And I think there would be another type of person that just would put it off, or be so scattered or whatever, and it would always be a problem. You don't want to be the second type of person. So whoever's in charge of your shipping department, no matter what your promise is to people, you want to get it out. Now, there would be whole other scenarios. If you don't advertise this as part of your spiel, I think you could get away with the idea of shipping once a week, but you would have to line your whole business plan up and sort of educate the people that are buying that this is why and this is what I promise. when they buy something, you should probably send an email out that says, hey, look, I only ship once a week. You probably read about it. We're out picking, or we're, kayak instructors and we're out on the water, and once a week we come in to shore and ship stuff, or or whatever, Yeah,
there's a couple interesting things I was thinking about there, like bigger sellers, not necessarily eBay sellers, I mean retail sellers even. Some of them are really impressive. Some get your order out right away, they're quick, same day, and then a lot of them, I don't know exactly, it's like the really big sellers, I guess, but they usually ship DHL, which ships either once a week or twice a week, and that can be, I don't know, it can be a pain depending on where you are. So I can see the advantages to shipping faster, and then there's some people, I guess they get a shipping discount or something if they ship a lot or something.
Well, I just think,
I don't know.
I think that, it just comes to part of your message, and there's a lot of different ways to put that message out to your customer. All of our listings show the 10 reasons to do business with us, and one of it is quick shipping. We also have marked on there eBay's little stamp, we ship quick.
So the fast and free, that's the little thing.
So
and they give you an estimated delivery right on there and all this other stuff. It's pretty.
Okay, I've seen you guys sell old film before. I bought some Fuji film that expired 10 years ago because of that, and it sold tonight. Not huge money, but totally worth it. Can you talk about what you guys buy and don't buy as far as film goes?
Well, I'm really curious actually what type of Fuji film you sold. Was it 35 millimeter, 120? Because if it's a bigger pack of 35 millimeter Advantix, I can see how that would sell. Buy and don't buy. I'll say anything collectible, anything 70s or before, film-wise, we'll always buy that. People like that in their collection, especially if it's a nice box and all that in nice shape. We won't buy that loose quite as much. We have some other things there that we sell in that range. They don't necessarily sell too well, but we even sell like the film cans from the 60s and before because they're kind of cool looking. People buy those to reload. Stuff we won't buy. Let's say film on the low end, consumer grade film from 1990 or later that's not in box. That's one thing that, first of all, because we light up, we won't sell that individually is what I'm talking about. Any professional film though, we'll buy that. That's another thing. So anything newer than the 1990s professional grade, we'll buy that. So I don't know.
Let me ask you a couple questions.
Yeah, just to clarify a little bit. So I
well,
got scattered.
No. On most film items, is there a track record like anything else?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can reverse engineer it when you're looking at it, and then when you finally buy it, if you buy it cheap enough, it doesn't matter because you can look it up, and then all you're doing is you're trying to figure out how to price it. Also, how you describe it is pretty important. I'll give you one quick example. I just sold a film lot.
Yeah.
And although I took a picture of it, I didn't put the expiration dates, and that triggered somebody.
Yeah.
They were like, next time they gave me a positive feedback, but they said next time put the expiration dates. And so it is important to know that there are different types of people buying film. Some are buying to shoot with it, some are buying to display it, and some are just not educated and they don't know what they're buying.
Yeah.
And that's going to be with anything camera. So
yep, I'll say one more thing on that. We really describe our film for who it's for, too. Like, we'll put lomography in the listing, and then in the listing I'll put this film is old. It's not expected to give good results, if any. This is for lomography or display. In a lot of cases, I'll put that in the body, I'll put that in the title. And another thing I'll say, see, I had a thought, I have to remember for a minute.
Well, let me think about that a minute.
Yeah, think for a minute.
So, even with film, you wouldn't think there's all these different types of camera film, but we have sold lots of film, meaning multiple rolls of film, a whole bunch for $10, and we have sold one little roll of film for over 200.
Yeah, right around there. Because we gave it to this guy,
a little
long-time customer for
a little spy camera roll of film that was new old stuff.
Yeah, that and a Kodak autographic rare film. We sold that for $150. We have a couple of different ones in there. A few of them. We've sold 4 different types over $100.
And then there is some high-grade professional film.
Oh yeah, well there's X-ray film, there's medical film, there's a few different things that can go all the way into the $500 range.
There are hundreds of different kinds of film.
That's the deal.
And so if you want to really be good at film, there's a big market there. If you're just running into stuff here, there, and everywhere, what you're going to have to do is look it up.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn, and then like Wheeler was saying, you can multiply your profits and you can reduce your problems of return and problems with it by picking out and identifying and listing the type of customer that this is for. And that's just from experience.
Yep.
And a lot of the film we get, I mean, if we get a bunch of film in a given year, a bunch of it goes to the lot-up
I have
pile.
a big lot-up tote in the back room just full of, like, I don't even know, 300 rolls of film?
Yeah,
A lot of film.
and we don't pay a lot for that.
Yep.
And so for us, that's a bonus when we get around to selling it. Then there's like the good collector stuff. Then there's like the good stuff that people are still going to shoot with.
Yep.
And then there might be a little small, like, unique.
Professional film, discontinued film, a few other things. Anyway, my one last thing that I had on that, retail film is a lot of money. Like 35 millimeter consumer film is $12 at Walmart or something like that where you can buy it. So that's the reason that film has such a good market. At the lowest end on eBay, the cheapest roll of film you can buy expired is $3.25 as of like a year ago when I did some research on that. So it's that about sets the barrier for what a single roll would go for, and then they go on from there. So that's a good market to be in because there is a bottom.
Just like anything, though, knowledge will help you have a better understanding of how to sell it.
Yep.
So it's a little more complicated than non-movable widgets, but it's not as complicated as like selling motorcycles.
Yeah, because what I can say, I guess what I'm trying to say there is there's no film that's worth nothing. That's the deal. All film is worth something. So then just as long as it's in the box and that it all adds to it. I don't know.
That's enough on
There's a lot of different stuff on film. I mean, I can talk for years on film.
Well, we've probably bought and sold a few $1,000s.
Yep.
Probably $5,000 of film.
Yep. There's film that sells retail for 10 shots, $60 all day long. New nowadays, 4x5 like large format film. So.
And in reality, we don't find it. We wish we could find more film.
Oh yeah.
There's a scarcity.
We can find.
There's a scarcity.
Yeah. There is. Film is no longer produced. That's another thing. Like, I'd say most film is no longer produced.
Most.
Fujifilm is I guess Kodak maybe is sort of back, but Fujifilm is basically the only person in the world creating film nowadays. Ilford, a couple other ones.
Okay, next question. When you went full-time eBay, how many items were you listing a day or a month? Okay, well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It all depends, though, because I'm trying to think. My first venture onto eBay, and actually I was mostly selling on Amazon, was DVDs. And in reality, to make a full-time living, I was going to have to, when I got down to it, I was going to have to list a couple DVDs. I was going to have to list a couple thousand of those a month just to make a living. And it was getting worse. And so I got out of the DVD market earlier on in the century. When I was listing high-end air purifiers, my goal was 3 a day.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to take those things out of the box. I had to test them. I had to make sure they were what they were. Sometimes I had to clean them. If I could list 3 a day, and I think I did that once for 3 months in a row, that was the cat's meow. 3 a day, woo!
Yeah.
But I was making more than $100 profit on each one. In fact, some of them I was making $200-300 of machine profit. And so that was big, that was big money. So it really depends on what you're listing and what your product is. Now, currently in our business, and we're doing pretty well. So then again, you have to define what full-time means. Mm-hmm. Some people, they only need $1,000 a month to supplement, let's say, their retirement income, or if one of their spouses is working outside of the house full-time, their full-time means $1,000 a month net. That's going to be different than our business where our gross is $20,000 a month.
Yeah.
But here's our numbers for this month. We listed almost 400 items this month.
Yeah.
Between you and I and Banana Peeler. That wasn't very good.
No.
That was low.
Yep.
We've had some months where I think we've listed 800 items between you and I.
Yep.
I personally like to list between 3 and 10 items a day that I'm in the office.
My record day is 130 items. And those were like Hasselblad accessories and stuff. Those were high end. Like, I mean, that was a $4,000 day of listing or something.
A long day.
Oh yeah, long day. It's full day.
Some duplicates.
Yep. Well, yeah, some duplicates too. I'm just saying, like that's about where I max out. And it's kind of funny you say 800 a month.
So I really think there's more than items a day. Now, how I do more things than just listing. You do some more things than just listing. I do more things than you do than just listing.
Yep.
But it's not really the number of items, which I think, depending on what you're selling, depending on your whole marketing and sales strategy, depending on how much you need to make, how much your profit is, you can develop your number per day after a month or two, and then you'll know if you're hitting it or not. You'll know if you need to turn up the volume or not. I know if I'm not listing a certain dollar amount per month, per day, we're not going to do so well. That's really what it comes down to. The number of items for us is not as important as the dollar amount per day and the quality.
Mm-hmm.
We know if we list one item a day in our current profit margin and our current sales amount per item, we know we're not going to do very well.
Yeah.
We also know that we can't list 25 items each a day forever.
Yep.
So you're going to have to come up with your own number. I did a whole month where I did all the stuff I normally do, and we were in the office probably 24 or 25 days out of that month. I listed 10 or more items a day every single day, and that was really good. That taught me a lot. You've had months where you're probably averaging 20 plus a day every single day.
I've had weeks where I'm averaging like 30 a day plus. So.
And again, it depends on what you're listing.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
We do develop little games with ourselves. We do develop little office contests. We do track the numbers enough to know our profit per item. I know how much inventory I have on hand. I know what we're spending on the front end. I know all the basic numbers, and we've developed a way to strategize that. So it really depends on what you're selling.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's people that are selling things for $6.
Yep.
And they're making $1.50 on it.
Minimal descriptions, one picture. There's a few different items like that can be like that.
But if I say, hey, you're going to be good if you list 10 items a day, and you apply it to that, you're only netting $15 a day.
Yeah.
You can't live on that.
Nope.
Not many people can live on $15 a day. And then on the other end, somebody's buying stuff for $100 and they're selling them for $200, and maybe they can't find enough of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the air purifier thing, how many could you possibly find? Like if you could find unlimited of them, how many could you list a day?
I couldn't find unlimited, but really what was limiting me was time and money, because I couldn't afford to have that. That one time when we went to Utah, I needed $30,000 to make this deal happen. We rented a U-Haul and went to these one big huge dealers that wanted to sell us 200 pieces of inventory for $30,000. And what is that? It's about $150 a piece.
Yeah.
And I knew from doing the calculations and everything, I knew that when I sold all that, it was going to sell for right around $100,000. There was $70,000 profit.
Yeah.
But I had to practically sell a kidney to come up with that 30 grand plus expenses. It was rough, but it actually was the thing that got me out of one of my jobs and gave me a run at going full time.
Yeah.
And so it was worth it.
Yep.
But that was a heck of a trip.
Risk tolerance.
Oh my gosh.
Talk about risk tolerance. I don't know. I was puking on the way home, so I don't remember much of it.
Well, that would take a little explanation. I was puking on the way home.
Okay, yeah, that's completely unrelated. Whatever. I just mean, like on the way there, I remember the whole trip. On the way back, I was kind of sick.
Well, we were going through the mountains in a storm.
Yep.
And we really hadn't slept enough, and we were eating all road food, and it was really crappy road food between here and St. George, Utah.
Yep.
And so that was the problem. It wasn't like you were dying.
No. I don't know. Yeah, bad explanation on that. I gotta have some preference.
Listen, we got haters on the channel that are gonna like.
Watch out! You real
Taylor, what'd you do? Almost kill your son? Oh my gosh!
Great.
Be careful what you say.
Yeah.
I'm nice to my boy.
Yep. I've told the story before, but it was more complete at that point.
So that's a really hard thing to recommend. You've got to come up with your own plan on that. Put how much do I want to earn a month? What am I currently buying? Now, all those, put the numbers out.
Yep.
I mean, the first number is what do you need to make a month?
Yeah.
It's a good question. It's just hard to make a plan for everybody since there's 100 different plans.
Mm-hmm.
The duck painting looks like it could be a paint by numbers finished kit.
Yeah, I've seen those before, and some are pretty ornate. I'm not sure.
Well, this is signed by this Darling guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the real deal or not, but I printed this out here. This is definitely not a paint by numbers.
Yeah.
Now the reason Wheeler brought this to me, and the reason I said, yeah, put that in the cart, and he didn't, you don't ask me on everything.
No, I don't.
You just saw
I
this.
look up a lot of stuff, and then a lot of stuff that I don't know anything about with that.
I let you put anything in the cart you want.
Yep,
But
dealer has a intuition on certain things.
No, you brought this to me, and I said, hey, this would look good in a hunting cabin.
Oh, yeah.
And since we're paying $1 or less for it, heck yeah, now let's have this little damage here.
Yep.
So it's not a paint by number. It's not a paint by number, and it's not. I looked up the signature. It matches. It's by this Norwood Ding Darling. He was an American cartoonist from 1876 to 1962. He did cartoons. He did wildlife paintings and conservation, and
duck stamps.
Duck stamps.
He's a duck stamp dude.
Right.
I knew I recognized that name. Yeah, because I was doing stamps.
And so
long time ago. But
there is a signature right here, Darling.
Can't tell if it's a print or not.
I don't know enough about art.
I was looking at it there.
But, I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to say great for the cabin.
It's not original painting. It's not like paint on there.
No, I'm going to list it for $20 plus shipping, though.
For sure.
And
buy Darling, because people like those duck stamps. Like, the duck stamps are big money.
Right.
Original 1930 whatever duck stamp was $600 or something. More than that even. I don't remember.
So that's why we bought that.
Yep.
Funny though, paint by numbers. I did some paint by numbers when I was a kid.
I've seen some really detailed paint by numbers. I was pretty impressed. I was like, whoa, but no, that doesn't look like it.
Oh, where are we at? Okay, we're doing all right. A few episodes ago, you talked. Is that the right clock? No, see, that's an hour behind.
Yeah.
That's why that seems like we're doing so well.
Yeah.
That's an hour early. Oh, we got to get going. See that?
Yeah, saw it. I have my watch on.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this really got.
Oh, we've been going for like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few episodes ago, you talked about picking, listing, and selling. Of the three, which came most naturally and which one took the most work for you to learn? I thank you for all the info. I've been reselling for 5+ years on the side, and this month's income smashed my sales record. Good job. You've given me a lot of helpful hints. Okay, so picking, listing, and selling. Well, selling is listing.
Yeah. Yeah, selling is listing. Anyway.
I mean, selling could be the back end, taking care of the sale, packing it, communicating with your people, making sure your stuff is good. But really... should
I talk my thing there? Or you have something?
Yeah, picking and listing really is...
Oh, yeah. Because I was going to say, like, my two backgrounds, or my two passions and the whole thing, like, I had a little bit of web design experience. I kind of worked with some computers at an early age, so the listing thing came pretty naturally from that aspect. And then the biggest thing is I learn a lot. I soak up knowledge like a sponge when it's something I'm really interested in. So the picking thing came pretty easily for me too. So those were about the two. Packing, that kind of thing, that would be a lot more of a learned thing. I don't really have that down right now. I could definitely pack stuff, but I'm just...
Well, there's no packing.
It's
listed as...
Well, selling.
Picking, listing, and selling.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there's really no selling. If you list well...
The back end stuff I'm not as experienced in, I should say.
I mean, researching how to list something, I don't know. But
I just say, I don't know.
I'm going to take this a different way. I think every year that I've been in this business, I've gotten better and better and better at picking.
Yeah.
What the heck was that?
Fart. Not my fault, man.
Is that your body?
Well, it's not my fault. I can't help it.
What are you, like an old lady?
No. Can't hold in a fart.
Jeez. Oh my goodness. Do you need to take a break?
No, I'm good.
Every year I've gained more and more leverage through learning more and more about items and picking. Listing, there's changes and stuff that come along, but for the most part we've kept it simple. And I think the leverage has slowed down on the actual gaining more and more knowledge on listing. The listing is pretty straightforward now, and I think the most leverage continues to be gained through the picking.
Yep.
And as far as, like I said, I don't know, picking, listing, and selling, I'm not sure I would know how to differentiate the difference between the listing and selling, mainly because they're sort of the same.
Yeah, because I know of people who can pick but can't list because I have a lot of internet knowledge, so I can see that kind of thing. So, but we came from the internet, so that's a little bit different there.
Yeah, my background is technical, and so that's pretty good.
But
yeah, so let's stop that and get a new battery. Okay, back. Great show again. Love all the stuff. That stuff's right up my alley. Question might be a repeated question. I don't think I've ever heard you talk about it. So, how much is too much when you are describing things in your eBay description? For example, for me, I list something that's, say, a rusty sign. I feel like I have to describe where the rust is, every ding or scratch, and so forth. I feel I have to describe it just right or it will get sent back. Do you do the same thing? What is your process for listing something old? I don't want to be lengthy on my description, but I also don't want to leave things out to the buyer. Keep the videos coming. Look forward to all of them and the things you buy. Well, again, very good question.
Yep, I do a lot of listing stuff on my channel. But anyway, I'd say I err towards the side of over-describing stuff. A lot of people that I've seen on eBay somehow have a successful business and they describe stuff almost not at all. Like, I don't even get it. Through the photos, I guess, and then a very general description.
It's almost like they set a precedence as that. But I think you do some disservice.
Yeah.
If you don't describe things. So my personal style and opinion on listings is good pictures that show two things. Every side of the object, for one, and then two, I try to show anything abnormal, any defect, any marking on there that identifies that the thing is something that they want or don't want. And I try to use as many pictures as it takes, up to 12, to do that.
Yeah, I'd say like on anything that's not like a lens cap or something, some small accessory that only has two sides to it, I probably average 8 photos per item. 8 good photos per item, like they're well framed, clear photos.
I've had places where the lighting is not so good and I've had to use a light tent so I get better pictures, and then our current office is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
And I don't use a light tent, but the one thing that you need to do is have clear pictures. I feel that that's really important.
Yep, I definitely err towards the side of ease over like super great lighting, perfect photos. I hit that middle ground of photo quality.
Now another thing that has changed over the last 10 years that concerns me, and we run into challenges with it all the time, is people are ordering more and more on their phones, and they're relying more and more on the title and the pictures, and they do not read the description as much.
Everything on your phone, eBay puts the item specifics tab before the description tab, and they're kind of vague about which one's which, so that can be very confusing for people sometimes.
So we do have people that will order based on just the description, the title and the pictures, and sometimes they will scan or not read the description, and that we do run into problems with our camera stuff on that.
Yep, and one thing I've seen other people do, there's 2 descriptions on eBay. There's a little top description and then there's the body description. For me, I put both of those exactly the same. I've seen people who do them completely different, but I think that helps our case as far as mobile users, because that one is a lot more accessible than the main description. For some reason, I don't know what's up with eBay in that, but they're a little short description, which isn't short for me, it's the same thing. But
yeah.
Yep.
Now, the idea of having a short, concise description versus a super long one that points out every single flaw, again, I think it depends on what you're selling, because some things do require more description.
Yep.
I like to do pretty much as little description as possible, but cover certain things.
Yep.
I try to put as much relevant data right in the title.
Yep.
And then the second would be the description. I rarely will repeat information that I have in the title, but I will put things like condition, and I'll point out certain things. I like to stay away from, hey, it's in good condition, it's in poor condition. Those are all relative. I like to use terms like it's in well-used condition, it's still usable but shows lots of scratches. When you turn it on, you cannot notice the scratches. However, the screen has scratches. I try to use things that people can identify with, but yet still cover my butt.
Yeah, because it's interesting. I start with a very general thing. I say this item is in good condition, good cosmetic condition, good user condition, well-used condition, and then I go into detail in the description. So I have a little bit different style there, but yeah, similar. I always describe like scratches on the screen, scratches on the lens. I have a pretty...
I think for the newer seller, it is very, very tough to figure out how to minimize your listings. And I think if you're a newer seller, I would lean towards putting in more description, more condition issues, more flaws than less.
Yep.
And you also have to realize that no matter what you do, you're going to get some returns. No matter what you're going to do, you're going to send something to somebody that is super picky and particular, and even if you put more description, it's not going to matter. Yeah. And then there's other people that, you know, they get it and it's like, wow, this was in a better condition than I thought. And maybe they were looking at it on a 320p screen or something and couldn't tell what it was, and when they got it, they were like, wow, it looked terrible on the screen. But so it's a numbers game in a sense, but here's a couple of other tips and things that we do. You're welcome to look at some of our listings, both Wheeler's and mine are in the description channels there. You can get, you know, an idea of some of our verbiage. One of the things that we've done, and I really harp on Wheeler about when I have trouble with it, is any condition issues that are abnormal or would X out some people from buying
performance. Yeah.
So in other words, if 100% of people that would buy a camera, if there's a condition issue that would strike out half those people, I want that line in the description in red.
Impair functionality or require repair.
And we struggle with that to this day for some reason. And since I'm
all my new listings have the red in them, so I don't know. If
I'm the guy that's paying the shipping out and back on free shipping, I'm the one obviously that's last in line, and that's why I harp more on that. But that's a big one. And then the other one is just staying away from subjective things. Years and years ago, we had a misunderstanding on what certain terms meant.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't used to know what excellent meant.
Well,
that's funny.
And
perfectly in every way.
Yes. Okay. And you know, this is really not a bad thing. But Wheeler is a very optimistic person.
Yeah.
And being that he started this business very, very young and very optimistic and enthusiastic, he used to put in certain listings that this item was perfect in every way, and of course we would run into the people that found it.
I don't remember how that worked. That just seems ridiculous to me now. I'm not even sure how that would have exactly worked.
So that was pretty stressful.
I guess I liked the camera so much, I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is perfect in every way.
Well,
in the description, I don't get it.
I mean, okay, cameras are one of those things. You got people that are super particular about their pictures. And here you got a, you know, at the time, 12, 13-year-old kid who's just happy to be taking pictures. And so there is a disconnect.
Yeah.
And then the other funny story is you used to find some things that you really thought were awesome, or you got a good deal on, or you thought they would go for a whole bunch of money, and overall you do a great job, you did a great job, a lot of learning, etc. But the one story that comes to mind is we bought these cowboy boots for $10 or $15, and they were nice cowboy boots.
They should have went for more. I still stand to that to this day. I don't understand it.
You took 300 pictures of the cowboy boots.
I don't even understand that.
He put 300 pictures in the body of it.
How does that even happen?
Spent days on this listing, it seems like. And it didn't sell, it went through the price reduction.
I need to parody this at some point because I don't understand it.
He ended up selling it for like $13 plus some shipping.
I don't even understand how that could happen because I know it's priced like $200 to buy it now to start with, but I don't even understand how I could have taken 300 photos of a pair of cowboy boots. What did I take?
You were so in love with those boots for some reason. That just unbelievable.
I looked them up. I thought they were the greatest deal I've ever made. I was so excited. I don't understand it. It's crazy.
So, I don't know.
I didn't make a parody though. That's funny.
I'll try to summarize it. I mean, there are so many different little nuances with it, and after you list 1,000 items and ship them and get the feedback whether people are liking them or not, you need to adjust your descriptions depending on what kind of feedback you're getting, whether the people are liking their stuff, whether you're accurate with it. You know, you pay attention, but you certainly can put too much time into it. Mm-hmm. I think more time in the pictures, and then really point out the bad things, if there are any things, but you can point them out and still sell things to the right person. Mm-hmm. I sell signs all the time that are gouged and bullet holed, and I try to make it a positive, and for 90% of the people, they're like, I don't want that.
Yep.
But then 10% come along and they're like, whoa, this guy's speaking my language.
Lingo, bruh.
This is my item. Look at that. Mm-hmm. He says there's bullet holes and a chainsaw hole. Look at that. And they zoom in on the picture and they're like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
So it's an art. It's a science. I think after a couple of years, you either get it or don't.
Yep.
Some people really struggle with it for some reason. And it's not a language thing, because I've seen people with 50,000 feedback and their descriptions, you can hardly read them. It's like choppy, like they typed it in on a text pad.
Yeah,
or something.
absolutely.
And they still have 99.9%.
There's a reason they have 50,000 feedback though, because they list like crazy or something. They list super fast because of that sometimes.
Well, they still get their message across. Mm-hmm. So you can go too far.
Yep.
But you do need to cover certain things.
Yeah, a couple more notes there. I'm wondering what this person was thinking, or anybody who read that listing with those 300 photos, what they were thinking, like, well, who is this person?
There's
all this time.
Please put me out of my misery.
There's a reason it went for that cheap, because people are like, what? I don't want to buy with this weirdo who took like this many photos.
Oh my gosh.
I just want a pair of boots. I don't want to have to...
It might have been time when you got your first digital camera.
That was probably part of it. It was actually, yeah. I had this cool new macro lens. That was part of it. I want to take all these macro photos, so I was practicing. I got new editing software too around that same time. But anyway, one other thing that I have to think of for a minute because I forgot now. But I don't know.
Okay, yeah. I'll be over here.
You come up with something else. I don't know. I've had another point to that, but I forgot. It wasn't related to that.
Well, it's a great question, and I hope we answered some of it.
Yeah.
Looks like here's one you like. Looks like a good trip. Could you maybe talk about taking photos? This is the one thing that seems like a major pain after selling on Amazon.
Oh, I see.
So if you sell on Amazon, for the most part, if there's a product with a track record, it's got enough photos. If you're selling stuff that's, packaged and has a barcode and the package isn't destroyed, you really don't need to take pictures on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's just like anything else. I think you can get into a rhythm. Some people can take pictures for 10 items and then list them. Some people, like myself, I like to do one at a time. I think having the right lighting for
most important thing.
For taking your pictures is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Because if you have bad lighting, the pictures are pixelated.
Good lighting, a steady hand, and you got it.
Yeah.
But I will say, camera stuff, like, it comes to some people a lot more natural than others, because I don't know, there's people who still shoot on Mavicas, they don't take great photos on eBay. It's hard to explain to certain people exactly how to do it if you're not photographically inclined, if you aren't really used to use your smartphone to take other photos, because smartphones are one of the most powerful and least expensive cameras, because most people have one that you can use for taking photos on eBay. If you're trying to buy a camera that's not a smartphone, it's complicated.
Well, it's
really not that complicated, but I mean, it can be expensive, and that can be hard to justify sometimes.
It's like anything else in this business. It's an until thing where if you're not good at it, you need to ask the right questions of people. You need to practice. You need to get the right equipment. You need to practice and experiment with that. It's an until thing. You do it until you're satisfied.
Yep.
Or until it meets a certain criteria. No matter what, if there's 10 parts to this business, 10 different separate areas, not all of them came easy to me, and not all of them would come easy to you or anybody else out there. And you got a couple choices. You can be bad at a couple things and be really good at some others, and that might offset. You can outsource some things. You can, buckle down and learn those things, or just know that that's maybe one of your weaknesses. If taking pictures is something that you don't like, you can always outsource it. You'd have to do it in a certain way, like line up 100 items and have somebody come in for an hour and take all the pictures for you, hand you the disc, hand you the thing, or upload them or whatever, and then you could do the listing on that, and then they'd come in for an hour, you'd give them $40, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
For 100 items. 40 cents an item, that might be the way to go. But I mean, that would be the extreme end. I think if you get reasonable equipment, get really good lighting, practice, take all angles of the item, point out the defects, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I take my pictures with my iPhone 7. Before that, I used my iPhone 6. Before that, I used a decent point-and-shoot Kodak. And I've never used professional equipment. Yeah. You like more professional stuff.
Yeah, and I always say in my descriptions, people ask, what camera do you use? I always say, well, I'm a camera nerd. I use this camera because of that. This is not necessarily the easiest, the best, the whatever thing for this. It works for me.
I think as long as your pictures are clear, and if you have good lighting, and if you show all sides of the object, and if you show the defects, and if your description fills in some of the gaps, I'm a hack.
Yep.
And I sell a lot of stuff with my listings with my okay pictures.
Yep.
So I don't think you get tremendous leverage going from where I'm at to super professional. You get some leverage, but I don't think that's where you should spend all your time. I think you should just get it done.
Unless you're a camera seller. If you're a camera seller, they're going to expect good photos. Like, you're selling a $2,000 Hasselblad, they're going to want good photos of you.
Right. Or if you're selling high-end anything, like watches or jewelry or something.
Yeah. That's when it's worth it to invest. First of all, invest in good gear. Secondly, like macro photos, I was going to say, in general, macro photos are going to be the hardest thing to shoot with budget equipment, that's a really needed tutorial on my channel that I'm going to do eventually, smartphone photography of macro items and how you can make the best of your situation. But anyway, yeah.
It's a good question.
But
these are all good
for general items, it's pretty easy to figure it out.
Here's a question. What was the thing that pushed you to start hitting $20,000 a month? Was it listing by certain dollars a day? Was it listing on multiple accounts? Thanks. Well, really, we are both of the same cloth. All my kids are not like me, but Wheeler has the same drive as me in business. And so really, the $20,000 a month, we would make $100,000 a month if we could do it.
Oh, yeah.
So we just push pretty hard.
Yeah.
For the most part. Our business is one step beyond comfortable. We put in one step beyond comfortable in our energy level and where we end up after 3 years is averaging $20,000 a month.
Yep.
So when more people join my business, like my wife and some of my kids, we probably are going to have to make more money in sales and try to remain in that same thing. I just happen to know from doing that for a while that if we list $1,000 a day that we're in the office, if we do that, we will continue to make that money. When we fall below that for too long, like we did this month, we'll make less money.
Yeah.
So really the goals that we have are more of a byproduct of experience and understanding how our numbers work than like us pushing ourselves and driving ourselves. We're pretty self-motivated.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But even with that, if we don't have our little board where we write our numbers up and stuff like that, we do fall off a couple notches.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so we're going to get back on that starting this month. We've taken sort of a low
month off.
Yeah. Back in October, I did a video. It's one of my most viewed. It's one of our most viewed videos. We listed $50-some thousand of items in a month.
Yeah.
And we really clicked that month. I listed a whole bunch of stuff. You listed a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
We could not do that every month.
I was trying to think of what some of my listing incentives that I went for. I know I went for one that was really crazy a little while ago that I bought, like a MacBook Pro after it. I listed 500 items in a week, I think is what it was. No, maybe not. I don't think it's quite that many. It was somewhere in there. Maybe 200 items in a week.
200 is pretty.
Might have been it. 300 items? I don't know.
What was the first number you threw out?
500, that's too
No.
many. No, it definitely wasn't that. I don't remember. But I have a video on my channel that's like that.
You used to
250 maybe.
You used to scam me.
Yeah. I think it's 250.
I'd be like, if you list this many items, Wheeler, you'll get this. And you're
There's
like,
multiples,
oh, I
all
missed
kinds
a
of random
million.
stuff. Yeah, I don't know
I listed
exactly.
1 million items, Dad.
Yep.
I mean, oh.
Yeah, it was like 12.
Yeah, I know. We've had our growing things.
Yeah.
Now listen, I'm gonna be 50. I've been around the block a few times, and Wheeler is learning and learning and learning. But you don't get that just because you're good. Wheeler's good and ambitious and hardworking and all that, but you don't just get the wisdom of 20, 30 years of being in the working world at 17 easily. Mm-hmm. And so there's things you have to learn. And it's hard for me, and I do pick on him a little bit. We usually have a fun thing back and forth, but there's still a gap.
Yeah.
No matter what. So that's not a big deal though.
Yep.
So really what we try to do, like I said, $1,000 a day, we got to hit that every day. Everything else takes care of itself as long as you work the system. We went to $1,200 a day for a while.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit too much at certain times, but it was good.
Yeah.
So you'll have to find you have to find what you got to do. Could you talk a little bit about money management? Do you have a system or ratio on picking, saving, bills, supplies, etc.? How often do you separate it? Daily, weekly, monthly? Or you just work out of one single pot? Hope that made sense. Well, my business has changed over the years from a business in debt and servicing debt to a cash business more and more and more. And that's a good way to do it from the standpoint of I've got a lot more savings and money that I can invest in our family and our future now than I did when I started. So if I was to start this business with money and build it from that standpoint, rather than debt like I did, which I would not recommend, it would be a whole different recommendation that I would give. I have a budget every month for the business. I have numbers that I look at. I have all these kind of things that I look at, but for the most part, I just gun it. I just gun it, and then, I have savings that I take out every week. I buy certain things for the future every single week, every month. We go on vacation sort of when we want. Things are good. So I'm saving as much as I can for the low times and for the future. I keep it simple. I don't have like a detailed thing that I go through, but I'm also working and dealing with it, and I have my hands in all my money matters 6 days out of 7 a week, and I'm very, very in touch with it. Now, with that said, my wife Lon is very, very different with money, and I think having her be on that side of the business is going to be a weight off my shoulders, and she's going to like it. And the end result is we're going to have a tighter idea of what's going on there and more of a long-range plan. She came from financial planning early on in her career, and so I think that's going to work out really good. I tend to practice this. If I need to make $500 in sales a day, I've determined that I'm going to make it with that. I'm going to put my energy not into understanding all the stuff around that. I'm going to laser beam and say, okay, if I need to make $500 a day in sales, I'm going to list like mad. And then I'm not even going to worry about the rest of it.
Yep.
And that's a little bit different of a philosophy, but I personally know that if I list full out for any given period of time, I know what the result is going to be. So I feel that I can just turn that volume up and down daily, weekly, as needed to meet any financial obligation. So that's not really a great answer, but I definitely save more money now than I did in the past, and we buy inventory whenever we get low or whenever it comes along or whenever we feel like going picking.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Like shipping supplies. How do you figure out how many of those to buy? Because obviously you need to ship everything. I guess you said something about that, supplies. I don't know.
Well, it's not very organized. It's
Yep.
when I notice I start getting low on some critical things, I'll see, do I have enough to put together an order? And if I don't, I may wait a couple weeks and get a little tighter and put together an order. I mean, really, it's hard to believe, but really, I have very, very little financial stress. And I think part of the reason for that is I had a lot of financial stress for years in a row, and I gained such a tolerance to it. In other words, I had all this financial stress, but I had to take care of shit because I couldn't wallow in it. If I wallowed in it, it was going to catch up with me. And so I had that stress for so long that now, when I feel like I have the recipe to take care of business and I've got enough money to get it all done, I have so little stress.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I don't push myself and that I don't keep things going. I don't get comfortable, except on Sundays. Anything else on that?
Nope.
So it's a good place to be, but we've had to earn it.
Yep, I was gonna say in the supplies thing that we're at that place where we can order enough to keep up with the stuff. We're confident enough in our item flow and item costs that we don't have to worry about that.
Well, and there's different levels of what worry really means. I mean, you have to be diligent on everything.
You can't be overpaying for shipping supplies or something like that. But
I don't turn
be smart about it. But
I don't turn my back on any of the responsibilities I have by choice. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I don't want to do something, I won't necessarily do it. But you have to have your fingers on the pie. I don't have like a department head for my shipping department. I'm it. Mm-hmm. So all I gotta do is grab my shoulder and say, "Hey, buddy, do we gotta do this?" I mean, it's all in here. So it's a real micro deal. Now, if I go down, like if I go sick or go AWOL or something like that, I mean, you're gonna have to grow up in a hurry.
Yep.
Because you only run very, very well, by the way, like 30% of the business. You're gonna have to pick up the
Absolutely. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, wow, a lot there.
Well,
it's stuff that I'm just not experienced with. Is all that is.
And I think you could do it. Mm-hmm. I think what you would have to do, and this is just a little bit of a consultation, if something happens, all you need to do is back off the pace.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Every single day write down what needs to happen in order and then do it.
Because I just need to learn this stuff. So I'd start with priority mailboxes, free USPS boxes for most items, and that's where I'd start. And once I have that comfortable, then I can learn what would be more cost effective to go with ULI. I can figure out what that, I'd start more from scratch.
We're not just talking about shipping.
I know, I'm just saying in one certain thing there, back off the pace and then slowly build it up as you gain the understanding of what is necessary.
Right.
You don't just go full guns and you don't know what boxes you need and I don't know.
I mean, if somebody came into my business and let's say they were in an eBay business that was selling 50 items a month, $1,000. Mm-hmm. If you came in and tried to do my job where we ship 500 items and sell 20,000, you'd be in for a SHIT storm for a while. Mm-hmm. But because we've done this so long, and because I know this thing like the back of my hand, it's work, but it's no big deal.
Yeah.
And so anybody that would jump into that would have to go through that.
Yep.
Great video. This is the last question. I shouldn't have put it there.
Yeah.
Great video. Went at the bins, which means like Goodwill outlet. What do you do to do you put stuff in buggy, then look it up, or as you go?
Well, for me, most of the time, I look stuff up as I went. That's just how I did it because I'm pretty quick at looking stuff up, but I can see that there would definitely be advantage if you're a really experienced Goodwill person to put stuff in your thing, just pile it all in there and then start looking it up between things. So, ways both methods, I just look stuff up first time there.
We don't go to the outlet world that often.
So, second and third time.
You know, you have the opportunity to put stuff in your cart if you can get a cart. The carts were in scarce supply. We did have one that we had to go out and unload and reuse. But if you put something in your cart, you don't have to buy it. You can put it in your cart and you can look it up and
you wheel it around, do whatever you want.
Chuck it back into the business.
And I saw people doing that, so it's a strategy.
Some people had carts upon carts full on the side with blankets over that I don't know when
I saw this guy sitting in a corner like looking up a book, throw it back, look at a book, throw it back, look at a book, throw it back. That's what he's doing.
So there certainly are strategies, but what we found is there's plenty of good stuff.
Oh yeah, and what I found, my strategy at least, is go after the crowd has went through and dig underneath everything and find the stuff that's under there. I don't know, there's stuff left. Be more thorough than most.
Thanks for watching. We'll do another one of these again. Tomorrow is Sunday. I don't know when this video will come out, but there will be a new vlog on Monday. Thanks for watching. Wheeler and Dealer out. Pick well, list often. Dealer and Wheeler out.
Dealer out of here. Hey, Wheeler.
Dealer Production.